sometimes you just need to get injected some life. And I think the Eagles, for example, they lose their coordinator. So it's like, and we just lost the Super Bowl. We got something to prove, right? The 49ers, Jimmy, the same song and dance. You knew it was going to be very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl. Then you get injected with this. I think he's given life to the other guys that matter because they've taken it up. Obviously, the addition of Christian McCaffrey has fucking helped. But I think the Purdy injection has taken this thing to another level.
Yeah, you're right. And how do you measure that, right? That George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, all these guys believe if I do my job, I can be as good as I can possibly be, right? Brandon Ayuk, you're right. That's a good call. That you're saying Brock makes them feel like they can maximize their talents.
And that like we can't just – it's one thing. They always thought they could beat anybody, and they could. It would just be like, God, they just won that game 23-21. Whoa. You know, it's like we are just scoring 30-plus with ease. I thought the best throw of the night was to Ayuk where he layered it, and it was a penalty, and it came back. It was like, that is a dime.
So let's, John, that drive was their first possession after halftime. Dallas comes out and scores 21-10. So it's like, okay, if it's going to be a game, Dallas needs to stop right here. Starts with a Trent Williams false start. So it's 1st and 15. Then he layers the ball over Van Der Esch by a fucking hair.
And Van Der Esch is like 6'4".
That was a throw to Ayuk. Yeah. Unbelievable. Then it's McCaffrey. Then it's 3rd and 4, and that's when he hits Ayuk on the Burford throw to the sideline. Like, all right, well, 3rd and 14. Deebo, wide ass open over the middle, hits him in stride, 43 yards. And then this is the Juice gets like a 7-yard run or catch. I didn't make a note. Deebo gets a yard, and then this is the drive where he does the back pedal, waits, flips it up. Kittle runs under it, touchdown. That was a really good, like he made 4 really good throws. I'd say probably 2 excellent plus throws on that series. It was a really good series.
That was the drive. The throws he made that counted and didn't count, and ultimately for the touchdown, that for anyone, and listen, I actually do believe sometimes in the business of talking about sports, whether on TV or whether with a mic where, you know, you're on radio, podcast, or whatever, I think you can, rightfully so, if you're not watching every snap, be like, you know, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this, right? This guy is a system. I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's as crazy as saying like LeBron sucks or, you know, some of the shit that gets
whatever
said.
It is, 18 games. Like
exactly. It's like fair. It's very understandable. 18 games?
Whatever the number is.
I think it's
like
what,
13.
Yeah,
5 this year.
8.
Yeah, plus the Miami game, plus the postseason.
Okay, the postseason, yeah. Okay. But there is like just – we've seen a lot in the NFL. Guys start fast and not sustain, and guys also start slow and come on. But that was the type drive where you're just like, holy shit. Like that's like – if Dak had that drive and it was reversed, everyone would be going like this that loves the Cowboys and talks about the Cowboys. What
gesture, just for the listeners, did you just make?
Just a little hand movement with the right hand.
Got it.
You know, like
the
I'm rolling,
thumbs up,
like I'm rolling dice. You know, and that was the drive where. Here's the other thing with Purdy. I don't have to really. I have to go at the end of the game. Like I don't have the iPad or the phone with the box score up. I have no clue what his numbers are. Besides, like, that's his 2nd or 3rd or touchdown, or I know he hasn't thrown a pick. Like, I know he has a pick. But tonight, I had no clue what his box score was. But I just watched the game and, like, this guy's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And listen, like, for example, the Lions play. That's a great example of, yeah, the guy is wide open. Kittle down the seam. The Niners have missed that throw with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's made – from the Raiders paying him and the Niners paying him over $150 million, his likelihood of consistently hitting that throw with the guys, it wasn't totally in stride, but Purdy made sure he didn't miss him. Like, even if he had to slow down like half a step, he was still going fast enough.
He just threw it on a line is what he did.
Yeah, he didn't want to overthrow it, right? Jimmy has missed that throw, I feel, more than he's made that throw. And it's not always that throw, but it's down one of the seams or down one of the sidelines where it's schemed up. And Purdy hits that consistently. And then you factor in the layered throws, a good example, right? The Ayuk layer throw, it's like penalty. Like, oh my God. That used to devastate the Garoppolo era because it was like, he can't do this again. And then boom, Debo, right? And then boom, touchdown. It's like, of course this fucking guy made the drive. And it's just like every single time, answer the bell, answer the bell, answer the bell, answer the bell. Yeah, does he benefit playing with sweet players? Of course. Dak ain't playing with scrubs. You think the 49ers would take CeeDee Lamb or Tony Pollard? I mean, they got like the guy that he ended up getting hurt, but caught the touchdown over his shoulder was a really nice catch.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's clearly pretty talented. Like,
Yep.
Cowboys got Dak crumbles like a cookie.
So, we all fundamentally know that quarterbacking is hard, and yet when it looks easy,
do you always feel like you know his stats when you go to the box score?
No. Like I look today I always look at halftime because I just write them in my notes. Here's what was going on at halftime, just because then it's quicker to look back and go, oh, McCaffrey only touched it X amount of times in the second half, or this would happen in the first half, right? Whatever. But I had no idea when I went and clicked today what it was going to be, because you're right. You don't have to look. You know good when you see it, and that's Brock. And now statistically, Brock also backs it up. I think what's funny about him, and I agree with you, I got no problem. I was DMing our guy, Ethan Strauss, about this because he wrote a big Brock piece the other day. And I said to him, I don't understand, not just from a content standpoint, he's good for business, but there are people, I've seen this a lot the last few weeks, is like, the conversation's over. It's done. I don't want to hear it anymore. And again, from a content standpoint, I'm not about that. But also just fundamentally, like, guys, we've all watched careers look good for 2 years and then not be good. All you can judge is what we've seen, and the fun of it is projecting it. And I don't think there's a more fun conversation in all of sports than debating if a young quarterback who looks good now will continue to be a really good quarterback. I think it's the best thing there is. Nothing better, other than Jordan or LeBron. But kidding, hate that conversation. But here's the one thing we fundamentally know, because we've all watched a lot of football. Quarterbacking's really hard. So when Brock has these moments and games and drives where it looks easy, I think it's crazy to just attribute it to, well, Kyle makes it easy. We fundamentally know it's not easy. We've seen a bunch of Kyle quarterbacks make it look hard because it's fucking hard. It's hard. For the good guys, it's hard. So here's Brock making these throws. Sometimes he almost makes it look so easy that we just assume it must be easy. But it's not easy. It's not easy to read defense. It's not easy to know where to throw the ball. It's not easy with guys running at you. Here's the other thing. It's not like he had total clean pockets early in that game, right? And I text you this, I think, or maybe Dickinson early in the game. Like, let's just see. They had that great drive. Then there was 3 and out. Dallas is getting after him a little bit. Like, how does he handle that? Does he get jittery? Nope, didn't. Hasn't gotten jittery yet. No, he hasn't thrown a pick yet. He hasn't had a 3-pick game. But that hasn't happened yet, right? You would think if that was going to happen, that would have happened by now. Just like, once you hit him, he changes. That's not the case with Brock. Once you hit him, he doesn't change.
Yeah, so, and Jimmy used to. I mean, you could kind of rattle Jimmy. And I don't mean even rattle him. Like, I don't think he was rattled. I think mentally he kind of stayed
just normal
the same.
Quarterback stuff.
Yeah, just kind of throws you off. I would say right now that it's not like hyperbole or overhype. Like, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in 2023. And I mean, like, what's it going to take for him to throw his hat? Like, if Heath has 38 touchdowns, could he win the MVP? Yeah. I mean, that's like I would say that.
He has 38 touchdowns. How many games do they win? 13 minimum.
13. I mean, I think his team's on pace to win 16, right?
Okay, so let's say low end 13 and 4. How many 14-win teams are there going to be? Maybe 1, maybe 2. And you're telling me he's thrown 38 touchdowns? You're right. I mean, he had 9 coming in today through 4, so he's got 13.
I mean, 35 feel high because there are going to be some of these games if they get he'll run the ball. Yeah. They're going to have running touchdowns, and one of their wide receivers gets the ball from a running position, right? On top of, Mason ran the ball hard enough, like he's getting more carries after the way he ran, right? That guy, that was
McCaffrey's a system running back.
Maybe, but McCaffrey's clearly going to get a ton. So could he win an MVP at like 30-3 if they were 16-1?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they go 16-1, those 3 picks. I mean, yeah. But
Yeah,
30.
what
30
what does his touchdown need to be? Because remember, guys were winning it like 48, 50.
Yeah, 30 is really low. I mean, and you have to. We're only 5 weeks in. You just have to believe that in the end, Josh Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and Hurt, like these guys are all going to be there, right? Statistically. So
the thing him and Jalen, the Chiefs shit. I mean, I was watching the Denver game. They're like, the problem for the Broncos is they play the Chiefs 2 of the next 3 games. It's like,
my God.
They play them this Thursday night. It's Chiefs. So 13 divide 5, 2.6 times 17. I mean, he's on pace for like 40 plus 44 touchdowns.
That's an MVP season if you win 15 games.
Well, if he throws 44, let's just say 44-6, and they win 15-2, and they're the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Is he the MVP of the league?
That's an MVP. Yeah. I mean, does Mahomes throw 50?
Yeah, let's say Mahomes throws 40. Let's just say Mahomes throws 40.
Josh Allen, who hasn't won one yet, that matters.
Chiefs don't lose very often either. If their wins aren't as sexy, but they got. I've been paying attention, like 14-3 minimum written all over them right now.
The beauty is the Niners are going to play a ton of these, and it's not college football where it's like, was it on national TV? Because the MVPs play on the best teams, so they're on national TV all the time. So that's just the way it works. But yeah, that puts him in the conversation. We gave him an A+ grade last week. This is an A grade.
Purdy has more touchdowns than Mahomes so far this year.
Okay, but part of it is how does it look when you watch it, right? But this is an easy A grade. This is a cruise to an A grade. Are you going A+ on this game tonight, or what are you doing with Purdy's grade tonight?
Yeah, I mean, just if you have a couple incompletions, to me an A+ is just an all-time great NFL game, right? It'd be like 28-30, 4 touchdowns, no. It's just something like statistically.
Mahomes, I would guess if we went back and looked, we'd go like Mahomes has 3 a year.
That feels high too, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have some incompletions. I don't see how it's not an A game, given the moment, given the importance, given how calm. His body language is an A+. The way he kind of carries himself. I'm not even talking like the sweet plays. Like I see why Kyle likes this guy. I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy looks like an NFL quarterback in his mannerisms. So let's play a quick game right now. Let's just go through some quarterbacks. Would the 49ers trade Brock Purdy for Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Josh Allen?
Yes.
Justin Herbert?
Yes.
Jalen Hurts?
No.
Would the Eagles trade Jalen Hurts for Brock Purdy?
Not a chance.
So it'd be a no-no.
Do you think the Niners would do that deal right now?
I don't, because they don't really need his running. Like they want
different offense.
But the Eagles would also say no.
Right.
Quick.
And rightly so.
Rightful. The Eagles would say no faster because the Niners would be like, let's just have a conversation. Obviously, we're not going to do it, but like
Jalen could win the MVP.
So Trevor Lawrence.
Like today, right now, I think you can make the case the Niners would not do that deal. Is that crazy? Am I crazy?
I think when you factor in,
feels crazy to say that.
Like what the guy, know the guy. Like what they know of Brock Purdy, they say no.
Feels like if you gave Kyle Trevor Lawrence, it'd be pretty sweet. But does he see the field as well as Brock?
Is there like the just the deep down the chutzpah? What is it called? The chutzpah. The just the fire in his belly. I don't know. There's something about Brock that I don't know if that Trevor has. I think honestly, I think the knock on Trevor is like, how much does he really care?
Yeah.
Obviously the Cousins, the Jimmies, there's a long list of guys that you would obviously any of the young quarterbacks know. Joe Burrow. The Bengals would immediately say no.
Yeah, you'd have to trade him for Joe Burrow.
I think the 49ers would. I think Joe Burrow would be pretty good in this offense. I think he'd be pretty good in the offense. I'm trying to think if I left out any this week. I think the 49ers, that would be like they'd have a conversation even if they came back with a no. I think under no circumstances would the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson for
not a chance in hell. No.
So Deshaun Watson, the 49ers would hang up. They wouldn't want that.
Irony, they tried to get him. Stafford, they tried. Stafford, Stafford.
I
mean,
watched a lot of Stafford. Stafford looks pretty good. He's, the age, the money, that's a no for the Niners.
Yeah. We leaving anybody out? Dak, obviously the Niners would not do that deal.
Yeah, not that matters. So I think it's the crew of guys.
CJ Stroud.
Listen, yeah, you can't even play that. The Niners would say no. But
Tua.
of the Burrows, the Niners would take Brock Purdy over Tua.
Kirk Cousins.
If you factor in age, money,
started with him
immediately. No, yeah, and Purdy's more athletic. So really, if you're talking like the only guys that the Niners would trade him for, are basically Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow, Allen. I mean, that's like the guy. If you and I were in the video game business, we'd like build the business around those guys to sell to the kids, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's like the Elway, Marino, Jim Kelly. If those are the only group of guys that are immediate no's, and Lamar too. I mean, he's MVP, he's a star. That's fucking. This kid has shot out like a rocket ship of respect. Because honestly, I think that conversation, as every week goes by, like, it's not just me and you. That I think a lot of people would have, and Jalen would have the agreement of the people we're talking about. You could I haven't watched Trevor Lawrence closely enough, but I do know about the wiring and where Trevor said, like, I could live without football. That shit to John Lynch, who turned down $80 million to work 1 day a week, who said, no, I want to be in the trenches with this fucking crazy guy named Kyle Shanahan. Those guys value when the clip tonight in Tirico, they had like, what position do you want to play? And Brock Purdy's like, quarterback. Like, what if you play? He's like, quarterback. Like, that guy likes football. This is why I think they gravitate him. There's a self-confidence and everything to him. But I think his like true love of the sport is very relatable to like Fred Hufunga, who goes to fucking high school football games on Friday, to Debo, and Kittle, who like yearn to run people over in football. Christian McCaffrey, who is clearly, and Juice, like football nerds. Like they love, remember Juice told us, like Christian looked at me, like his second meeting with Kyle was like, I don't want this shit to end. This is incredible. It's like they're going to
run the offense if they had to. They can't throw like the quarterback, but if you could put Juice or McCaffrey,
we've seen. So it's like you brought a guy, and this is what I think why Bill's fallen apart. Because when Bill had Tom, it was very easy for him to like match with their guys. Yeah. And they all kind of fit. And now with Mac, is like, what is even going? It's all out of whack. Yeah. Where Brock was the easy puzzle piece. Even Jimmy, like looking back, I think they liked the guy and they liked hanging with him. But it's like there was another level that Jimmy clearly didn't have of just being obsessed.
Well, you know what was the thing with Jimmy, and this was always, I think, Brady, even as Brady's life changed and he became a bigger star, what was Brady's thing always? And you've done it, I've talked to guys who play with him. He was one of the guys. And Jimmy, clearly from a hangout standpoint, but there was a clear kind of, well, yeah, that's the star quarterback, and it's kind of like does star quarterback things, right? That was the Jimmy vibe. And Debo's a star receiver, he does star receiver things, whatever. So maybe I'm grasping at straws here. But there definitely was that, like, dating the porn, just all that stuff. It's like he's just a little different. If you guys all walk into a restaurant together, he's going to get a different table, right? Now, he may not take it, because Brady would get a different table. But that was always Tom's thing. It was just Tom is one of the fucking guys, right? And you're right. We can't say that Jimmy wasn't. But clearly Brock is too, at minimum. He's like them.
And then, I mean, this is ultimately like the whole point of having a player is for them to play in the game, right? Beside all the character, works hard. Like, they have to play well. And Brock is just a better player. I mean, that's sometimes, because it is fun to talk about all this other stuff, we get away. I mean, I know we've talked about his throws and stuff, but like he is just such an upgrade at the position. Like they're not really having conversations of like, even their stars. How do we upgrade Dre Greenlaw, right? Or how do we upgrade? Like there's a value, I think, with Eric Armstead that they like having around. Now, big picture macro, I have a lot of respect for the guy and the way his career's played out, which how I thought coming out of Oregon it would come out. But that's a guy that makes a lot of money that they're paying for a lot of the intangible leadership stuff, which they love the guy around, that it gets to the point where it's like, it gets a little out of whack. I haven't super locked in on 91. It doesn't feel like he's playing at the level that he once played at in his younger days, right? And he makes a decent amount of money. But I also could see him like taking a pay cut to stay around. Like he loves this whole group, and they value that. So I think they have the ultimate mix right now. The Patriots had this forever. The Chiefs clearly just have it. And I think the 49ers finally, but part of having it, you have to have the quarterback who then can execute it. So you have the guys who are fucking awesome players, who are in love and addicted to football, no balance, even though the media always gets mad at that when you bring it up around draft times. Like, let the guy live. He wants to be a painter in his offseason. It's like, no, I just want the guy to be football obsessed, please. I'm paying the guy a lot of money. And the 49ers have that, and they have the talent, so it's just kind of meshing at that level. I think the Eagles, I don't know how much of that game you watched, but there were a couple of blow-ups. Jason Kelsey started screaming at coaches. Sirianni had one of those like legendary screams at Jalen. And it's like actually very normal. Like their guys, like it's like a healthy tension because their guys are all just like football guys.
Right.
So it's like the 49ers don't necessarily have that. It's very rare. Like Kyle doesn't yell at the guys really. How many times have we really seen him yelled at Jimmy like once? He's just not really his style, but Sirianni's a little more edgy, I think. But they just have guys that could get yelled at if you needed to.